Hi there. Welcome back to American Snippets. I am your co-founder, Barb Allen. Today we are here with another, I say this all the time, but every week it is true. We have an amazing guest here today. We have Alba. Go ahead and say your last name because I always mispronounce it.
Melgar-C-De Baca.
There you go. I could probably say it, but I'm going to butcher it. Melgar-C-De Baca. I can't say it as pretty as you do, so I just like to insert your name, right? Alba has an extensive history in the military, which I'm not even going to spoil that. I'm going to let you say it too, because I think everything just sounds cooler when you say it. But as we often talk about here in American Snippets, A, our gratitude to those who serve, and B, our the need that we all have to be aware of this transition process for them when they come home. So, we talk about imagine being in a high powerful, intense situation for months on end, where in many instances you live every minute knowing that something awful could happen, right? And you are responsible, especially in leadership, you are responsible for the lives of others. It is an overwhelming, enormous responsibility. And then you go through that and you're trained very specifically to go through that. And then you come home and there's no training on how to sort of unlearn that and sort of deprogram themselves from all of this immense training. So it's like if you're jacked up to do something and you go, 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 and then you're just tossed into a world and it's like your whole world changes, but there's no support to help you emotionally or physically transition back. And you're in a society where a lot of civilians don't understand what they have been through. And in a lot of places, it's easy for them to forget that people are even still going through it. So Alba is part of changing that for not only herself and her wife, but for all veterans within their reach and helping those veterans reach other veterans. And the vehicle she is doing that through right now, anyway, one of the vehicles, because there's a ton. Alba and her wife are themselves an interstate of vehicles because they're just flying down the interstate in all these vehicles, but all with the goal of helping veterans transition back into civilian life after their service and helping civilians also learn from veterans and how the one community can help better the other. So today with us is Alba, and Alba, we're going to jump into your story. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having us, Barb. I love what you guys do in American Snippets.
We do too. Thank you. Most of the time, except for when our internet freezes and stuff. It's not. Then we're a little disenchanted with it. But we thank anyone who bears with us through these issues. So, Alba, can you go ahead and tell us a little bit first about your personal background, your upbringing, and where you're from, your family?
Sure. I'm an immigrant. My family and I came to the United States when I was young, and all my parents and my aunts and uncle all came on student or work visas, and everybody went to work or went to school. And my mom took care of us, all my cousins, my brothers and sisters, while they were working, making a living for everybody.
That is a story in itself, which is another thing that we love hearing about. We're so impressed by people because we grew up here and we just take it for granted, right? I can't imagine going to those extents and those extremes to go live in another country. Like there must be something so special about that country, or about what you perceive that country to be, to go do that. And then for your family to come over and make that change. I spent a year overseas, in Denmark and traveling through Europe. And that was a great time. And I loved the country. I loved everything about it, but I missed my home. I missed, America. And I don't know for sure that no matter how much I love that country, if I could then assimilate into their society and adapt all of their practices because it was so ingrained in me, all of my other practices. So for people who come and do that, I have an extra dose of respect for them to commit to that process and make it work for themselves and for their children. I got to meet your mom. She's super cool, sassy. So I wonder where you get that from. So then growing up, what prompted you? What led you towards the military?
Well, first I started to get an education. I was still not. I had my green ID card, my resident ID card, and I did not qualify for most scholarships. So I was going to school and I was holding down 4 different jobs and realized I just couldn't do that anymore. And I wanted to give back to this wonderful country that had taken such good care of my family and I. My mom was so proud that I went and enlisted in the Air Force. So I enlisted for active duty. and I was an air traffic controller. I started in the Air Force as an air traffic controller, and then I was an airback medic in the Air Force Reserve, and then a combat medic in the Army, and I was commissioned in the Army as an officer. I received a commission after I got my bachelor's degree. My mom pushed education. She said, "You can't make anything of yourself if you don't get an education." So I kept going to school, and I spent a total of 29 years in the military. And 1 July is my first day in the private sector.
Wow. That, I mean, and you say that, and I know when you go back and talk about your life and things you've done to you, because you've done it and you've lived it, it's just like, yeah, well, this is the way it is. Like, it's hot out today, right? But I mean, when you're on the receiving end, when you're sitting wearing these headphones and you're listening to that, that is like a giant list of achievements and accomplishment. Like I got my master's degree, right? And I was like, boom, yeah, right? And not that that diminishes it, but I appreciate the level of work that goes into it. So, where yes, it's cool. I'm glad I got the master's. I know the level of work that it took for you to do. I don't know all the level of work, but I know the level of work it took for me to do that. And I know it took you, 12 times the level of work to do what you did. So again, hats off to you for that. And what is your rank, your final rank that you are retiring with?
My rank is 05, Lieutenant Colonel in the U.S. Army, and I was fortunate enough to finish my PhD before my last tour to Afghanistan last year. So I defended my PhD a week before I went to Afghanistan, and got Dr. Melgar, which was a much harder thing in my eyes to do than all the multiple deployments everywhere I went.
So you defended the country, then you defended your PhD, and then you went back to defend the country, and now you're Dr. Lieutenant Commander. Dr. Lieutenant. That's freaking awesome, man. So like you could just stop right there. You could be like, thank you and good night. I've done my part. I'm going to go sit on the beach and drink my Coronas or whatever and just hang out now because I've earned this time off. Right. But that's not really how you roll. And so you've moved into already your next path. You want to tell us a little bit about that path and how you came upon that?
I'd love you to. Thank you. I got an opportunity to go through a veteran accelerated management program with an organization called VETED. VETED provides an executive education to service members that have spent the majority of their life in the military. They give a lifetime to the military. And now they're leaving the military. And like you said, transition is really challenging. It's like me asking the radio producer and founder of American Snippets with a master's degree to go command a battalion in the Army overnight. So that dramatic a change. And the VETED is now the organization that I work for. I'm the chief operating officer for VETED.
Wow. So VETED, its primary focus it's an education program that helps veterans find gainful employment and make that transition back into society. Yes,
it does. It does two things. There's two tracks. You can go the entrepreneurial track, or you can go the corporate track, which means your next career. It helps build that business acumen for your follow-on job. Because that's the one thing you're missing. You're missing the business acumen, and you're missing the network. You don't have that network in your domain to be able to be competitive with those who have been doing the job that you'd like to be applying for. They've been doing it for the last 15 years. So now you have a lot of competition out there.
Yeah. And, it's not necessarily that people are indifferent or cold-hearted. They're not, necessarily actively trying to discriminate against veterans or people who don't or have that gap in the civilian workforce. It's just that many times they're looking out for what they perceive to be their best interest of their company or, who they're going to do business with. And when you line up someone who's been doing this for 15 years and can say, hey, here's all the things I've done in the specific area that you are looking for somebody to do it. Here's all the things I have versus somebody who says, I don't have those 15 years of experience, but I have these traits and I can learn quickly and I can do this and I've defended my country. They can be like, I appreciate you doing what you've done, but at the end of the day, I have to look out for my company and I'm going to go with candidate A because they're a sure thing as much as anybody, so So what vetted you're doing is you're helping them bridge that gap and convert their experience into a purposeful path that they can apply those traits to and make those connections and networks and just get that 5 minutes with that person that they need to get while they're building their education and their skill set. Pretty much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's been very successful. We have a 91% placement rate. The cohort that I participated in had 26 students. 23 of those found employment or started their own business and are being very successful at it. 3 of them went back to their active duty job. They actually started the course within the 18-month window that they're allowed prior to departing active duty. So our success rate is incredible. One of the highest positions one of our graduates received is the chief surgeon for the Seton Medical department here in the state of Texas. So a pretty big position. And one of our entrepreneurs owns his own, it's called Patriot Dog Training Business. And yeah. He's doing, he's increased his revenue stream by a third since going through the program. So it's a great program.
So you help teach people maybe, so the dog trainer has these skills. He was a canine handler in the military. Yes. So knows the trade inside and out, has the confidence, has a skill set, has a success rate in the military, but maybe doesn't have the skill set or the network to learn how to convert that into the civilian business plan that maybe an investor would look at or clients would look at, right? Or how to sustain an actual business out there. And your program helped teach him how to do that.
Exactly. The business model, the financial model, and then how to gain capital.
Teachers. And then you bring in people from, this is, I think, what is the coolest part for me is that you can get the education, you can pack yourself with potential and skills and have everything you need to be that success and maybe be better at it than people who have been doing it for 20 years. But oftentimes without those connections, somebody to open that door for you, just give you that 5-minute chance or work with you or say, hey, look, in the textbook, it says this, but in real life, this is really how it works better. And you guys provide like one-on-one almost mentorship with people in those areas.
Yeah, we do. And then we provide them a network of sponsors. So somebody who actually sponsors you in an organization that will walk you through the process itself and then help you to be successful at what you're competing.
Okay. So say I'm like a CEO at Neiman Marcus, right? I don't know business, right? That's not my thing, but say I'm like a CEO at Neiman Marcus, right? And so I say, hey, Alba, I would very much like to sponsor you. Or you guys approach me and say, would you sponsor Alba? And I say, sure. What does that entail? What is my role as a sponsor?
As a sponsor, there are a number of ways that our sponsors help us. One, they are the pipeline for some of our VAMP graduates, Veterans Accelerated Management Program. So they're receiving some highly qualified candidates with the latest business acumen to go into their company and be successful. 2, they provide a platform for case studies. So we will actually work a project or a case study for the company itself and help improve on a process they have or look at a problem they're having to find a solution. We put a team on that from our group, our Veterans Accelerated Management Program group, and they provide a solution or a number of options for that company to improve on that problem. Or 3, it's a direct either in-kind sponsorship, and they provide a grant, for example, for a Gold Star mom who is transitioning and wants to go back into the private sector and wants to go through the Veteran Accelerated Management Program. We'll sponsor that program. Or 4, they're actually a sponsor, and they act as a call-in for that individual to help them understand the company, its processes, its interview process, and how to get an interview at all. Because really that's the hardest part when a number of our applicants are applying prior to going through the program itself and having a network.
Yeah. Wow. That is amazing. So, and that's what you just said, touched upon where we were, or I was talking about a minute ago, talking at you really. But because I know what it's like to be out there and be competitive and trying to get that thing. So, and I want to make it very clear. Because there can sometimes be a misperception. If somebody's listening to this and maybe getting a little antsy or like aggravated, like, why should they get this job when I'm just as qualified? It's not about anybody giving anyone a job that they're not qualified or whatever. It is giving them the opportunity to prove themselves and prove their worth. And there is a world of difference in those two things. You're not just handing somebody a job and saying, here, do what you will with it, right? You're training them. You're setting them up appropriately to be an asset to that company or to their own business, and saying, here is your 5 minutes to show your worth or prove it or whatever. And that is the key, because oftentimes like you said, you cannot get the interview. Your resume gets dumped on a desk with, 600 other resumes, half of which are completely unqualified for the job, but still take the manpower and time power of somebody going through it. So you get that look and you get that opportunity. So it's by no means a handout. It is an opportunity to prove yourself.
That the candidate was successful in the position that they gained, that they're happy there, and that the company is happy. We actually follow our vetted graduates for the next 2 years to make sure that the employment that they did receive or their company is being successful. One of our entrepreneurs has her own company in San Antonio, Military Transition Network, and we're following her through and helping her through a number of ways. We're helping her build her conference. We're helping her continue to help her with her network. We're providing her corporate advice and sponsorship opportunities. So our graduates aren't a one and done going through the program. We're following them through, and that in turn makes sure that when they're successful, they'll pull along their fellow graduates, and we're building a network of help. So when you become the chief surgeon at Seton,
Yeah.
we're going to look favorably in hiring a number of other veterans that they know will be successful because they've gone through the program. And they've gone through the vetting process of making it into the program itself.
Yeah. Now, talk about some of the, not necessarily skills, but the traits that veterans have that make them, somebody who served honorably and well in the military comes out and they have a skill set, their MOS, whatever they've done, but they also have traits that go along with that service. And oftentimes it's those traits are things that you can't either somebody out there is going to have those or they're not. You can teach the skills, but those traits that these people have that make them valuable as part of a company, as a leader of a company, or as the developer of their own business. Can you talk a little bit about what some of those traits are?
Sure. Every military member that departs the military comes with a certain level of leadership skills. We're taught leadership from the very beginning of basic training through every single school and job that we sit in. So leadership, the loyalty to an organization. When you hire a military member, if it's a good fit, they're going to stay there for a very long time. Loyalty, they have a sense of duty to their fellow team members at the organization. They have respect for the organization itself and those who they work with. That feeling of selfless service and wanting to continue to do something larger than themselves, to have a bigger purpose, that continues on with the military. And that's one of the hardest things to find for military members as they exit the military, that sense of purpose and belonging to something bigger than themselves. They're agile, they are flexible, they are resilient, and they are great at building teams. All of those soft skills, military members who leave the military after a certain number of years come with those skills already ingrained, and they're looking for something to continue to contribute those skills to. What they're missing then is just the built-in business acumen and the network to be able to market themselves.
Yeah, and that's it. So you take all those traits and you give them the ability to translate those traits into a viable career, which is so important, because I don't think there's a single person who serves in the military, comes home and says, hey, I've done my part. I don't want to do anything. I no longer want to be a productive member of society. I no longer want to have my own purpose and my own path. I'm going to just come home and collect whatever benefits may be available to me, which are not a lot. And I'm going to do nothing with my life from here on, right? I don't know. And I've met a lot of veterans. I am a military family. I don't know a single one who comes home with that attitude. But when you come home and you're often faced with, a heap load of challenges that most of them, you're not complaining about. You're just saying, hey, look, this is what I have. And then you're thrust into a world of seemingly indifferent people, and just doors closed and doors closed and doors closed and doors closed. It is exceedingly frustrating. And that's where we start to lose people. That's what contributes to losing people. So I love what Vetted is doing and taking that and turning that around. I love that you are a part of it, and Cassandra is a part of it. The two of you are like a freaking hurricane and typhoon when you want to get things done. I mean, there's just nothing is gonna stop you, which is exactly what you need. Can you tell us, is there a particular moment in that course for you, because you first took it and now you're leading it? So can you tell us if there's a particular moment in that course where you had sort of this moment that really stuck with you?
Yeah, there are a number of epiphanies that you have while you're going through the course. It's I gotta learn to market myself. It's the value of me and everything that I've done. We write all of our evaluations in the military as a team. So when I say Barb and I did something, it's always my team members
Yeah.
built this large event. So it's the epiphany of, you have to be able to talk about how the things you did personally, be able to take credit for them, without being that as humble as you've learned to be, and learn not to talk about yourself. You're taught not to talk about yourself, but to talk about the team. Then you have the epiphany of, I have to network. I have to be willing to put myself out there, be a little bit vulnerable.
Yeah.
Come at it with a little bit of humility, because it takes a great deal of humility to go into a crowd of strangers that are all very experienced, all running companies, all have their own podcasts, and be able to communicate with them in an intelligent fashion and not feel incredibly nervous and lost in the process. So the networking, and then you're continuously learning new things, business models and financing, and your market value, market share. So you're learning as you're going through the course. The last portion of the course is one where you go through a workshop where they're actually getting you to the point where you're narrowed down exactly what you want to do, what your desire is, because you've lived a life of service, and they've always told you this is the next thing. Right now, you're going to be a battalion commander, and you're not really offered a choice. You're going to be a battalion commander. Your next one is you're going to go shut down the bottom 2/3 of Iraq. That's your next job. So go do it. And not an option. That's your next job. And now you're going to Afghanistan. You're going to go rebuild a base, and you're taking a number of soldiers that you have to train and motivate and take them into an austere environment and have them be a team and be successful. And that's what you were doing at that point. And then you come back and you're leaving, and now you don't know. No one's telling you the next, and you're going to do the next great thing. Now it's up to you to find the next great thing. And Vetted helps walk you through a workshop where it helps you find your next great thing.
Awesome. I love how you just laid that all out and put there. And so you can go in and you can say, hey, this is your mission, like this course, this is your mission now. And so maybe that would register with a veteran who says, oh, this is my course, and maybe they would have a little more dedication than like a college student sitting in a liberal arts class, like kind of killing time, right? To move on to the next part of their degree. This is all meaningful, hands-on, completely applicable information and contacts and resources that you're providing them, like a boot camp in creating your next career, and they have something to focus on to keep them, mentally and physically busy and directing their energy towards that positive outlet, which is another part. My grandmother used to say, idle hands are the devil's workshop, right? And that just sits in my head. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And I always knew I was about to clean something when she said that, right? But it holds true. That generation called it as it was, and it holds true. So there's no idle hands there, and no idle brains that are allowed to maybe fester and nurture wounds or, negative feelings or outlets, because it's all focused towards positive and recreating. And I'm sure the support system in there is also pretty great, and the camaraderie exists as well.
It is. It's a tough course to get through. So we're very careful about the candidates that select to participate in it. Because it is a challenging course. So as you're going through this challenging course, you're building relationships within and getting to know your class members, all very, very diverse class members from all services and all different grades. So you get that opportunity. And some of them go the entrepreneur track, and we're building entrepreneurs. We're beating the percentage of entrepreneurs that are being successful out in the real world right now. So all
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. That's my one. I'm like particularly like, boom. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So say I'm a candidate or I say, hey, this school sounds great. What are the qualifications for you all that make an attractive candidate? What's something that would maybe disqualify a candidate, and what's something that would actually make that candidate attractive?
We're looking for a candidate that has either a large number of years of experience in the military, or and a bachelor's degree, or has not as many years of experience, but has a master's degree because it is graduate level work. So we're looking for one of those two candidates that will be strong enough to make it through the program, and that also is in that group of military members that are at that point in their career where they're seeking to advance into the corporate world and build their own business, and can get through the course itself.
And so I know you said you also are open to military spouses and Gold Stars. So what would be some of those qualifications, say, of a military spouse to be accepted into that career field, into that school?
For a bachelor's degree and a couple of different jobs. So they've showed some career progression, or they've worked a number of jobs where they've gained some experience and will be able to contribute to the program and to learn from it.
Okay.
Or for example, for yourself, you've got a master's degree, and you've also given a lifetime of service to others through the organizations that you've worked with and worked for, and now are ready for a transition to the corporate sector, or want to build your own business in a different domain that might not be important.
So the program itself is how long?
It is a total of 2 months long, and it's 40 hours. It's 40 to 50 hours a week.
40 to 50 hours a week, and that's on site.
It's on site, yes. Right now, we are partnering with the University of Texas McCombs School of Business. It's the #2 business school in the world. So it's a great forum for students that are wanting to advance in business activity.
So are there programs elsewhere in the country, or is it for now located in Texas?
It is for now located in Texas, and we're looking to we will start the program here at the University of Texas in the fall. And then in the spring, we'll be growing to 2 more campuses, University of Texas, El Paso, and then moving to University of Texas, Arlington or Dallas, and then finally going to Houston for either Rice or University of Houston.
Nice. So now say I am somebody at a college. I don't know if that's the dean or whoever it is that makes these decisions, probably not the dean, but I would like to have my college participate in this program and offer my college's service, my university service to Vetted, to allow your students to come, and do what they need to do here at our campus. What needs to happen for that? I say, hey, Alba, I am in the position to make this happen here at whatever, like Yale or MIT. What do I need to do to make that work?
If you contact vetted.org, we'll walk you through the process to build the program, to make sure the curriculum matches up with the Veterans Accelerated Management Program that can compact the work of pretty much 3 semesters into 2 months.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. The 40 hours a week. Yeah, that's no joke. So somebody who does this needs to be 100% committed to it. And if they have a family at home, that family needs to be 100% committed to the success of their person in that, or it's just not gonna fly. Like they need to have the ability to take that time to do that and commit 100%. And their family needs to know, hey, I'm not really going to see so much of you for the next amount of weeks, but that's okay because it's, for that future goal. So, if I'm on the fence about being a sponsor, and I'm in the position to be of great value to you as a sponsor, and I say, well, I'm not really quite so sure, it may take up too much time, and maybe too much of an interruption in our daily flow, or I don't have the money to do it, or I was going to spend it somewhere else. I'm not entirely convinced that vetted is where I need to invest my time and my effort. What would you say to them?
If you want to help service members transition, if you want to have a successful employee or be a pipeline for a successful employee in the very near future, then Vetted is definitely the organization you want to go with. We have incredible candidates that are not just leaving the military, but graduating from the Veterans Accelerated Management Program that are a guaranteed success in the organization.
Okay. And what, in terms of if they're worried that it's going to be an interruption in the workforce, like I don't have time to take an unskilled person into this workforce, what's in it for me? And you touched on this before, but I want to put it in plain English in case, it was missed.
Sure. The part of the Veterans Accelerated Management Program works case studies for you and projects for you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hire the group or the student that worked on your project, but they're going to provide you a solution or options to the problem that you presented or the case study that you presented for your company. And that's at no cost to you.
There you go. And that's often, and not to say, it was difficult for me to separate, emotion from practical. Like I used to think if somebody had to have something in it for them, it meant they were a terrible person, but it doesn't mean you're a terrible person. It just means you have a business to run and you have employees to think of. And so there needs to be some sort of quid pro quo, if you're going to embark upon this journey with a veteran. And so I just think it's important to remind sponsors, or if there's somebody listening who may be considering it, that not only are you doing, you don't have to wear a uniform to serve the country, right? But everybody should do their part to support those people who do serve, because where would we be without you all? So this is something that people can do to support everybody who does serve. And it's what keeps that wheel spinning, right? Some people are going to go serve and do what you do. Not everybody's going to do that, but the other people who are going to stay back and run the country and keep the country going while you all defending it, now move over and make some room for everybody to assimilate back. So not only do you get to be a part of that movement, but you get to gain these dynamic, committed, motivated people in your program with people like you who are committed to the success of your students. So you really have a whole team. When you look at that one candidate coming through or that one new employee, it's not just that employee. Every single person in the vetted program is invested in that person's success and is going to make sure that that person has every opportunity to succeed and pushes him or herself to their maximum potential. So that is what I think an employee, or, if I was receiving somebody from vetted in, I think that would become evident too. It's like, it is a win-win situation for everybody. And it just, it does so much to move forward and kind of bridge that gap too in the transition process for the veterans and help the civilian people maybe understand and better appreciate what is happening every day for all of us.
Sure.
Yes. So tell us about some of the events that you all have coming up. I asked you that quickly before and you were like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoo. But so let's get it now recorded so we can make sure to list them all and point people towards them.
So right now, if you go to our website, it's vetted.org. We have a number of campaigns running. We have Countering Hate is sold by Bob Pearson, and all proceeds of that book actually come to Vetted. We have a T-shirt campaign. Grunt Styles actually is selling some of their fabulous T-shirts with the Vetted logo. Makes you be your own hero. On our website, we receive half of all the proceeds from the sales of those T-shirts. And then we have a number of events that are coming up. We have a Monte Carlo night here in Austin on the 22nd of July. Then we have that brings in all sponsors, past students that would like to be in, anyone who's interested about learning about Vetted at W2O here in Austin. We are then proceeding that with a Spec Ops event in October. In October, if you are a company and interested in sending a team that gets to participate in a 24-hour strenuous event, you get a SEAL team seal assigned to your team. If you go to a 24-hour exercise, then Vetted is putting on a Spec Ops event at the at a huge ranch here in Austin does those type of events. It's obstacle courses, it's land navigation or orienteering, and it's intellectual problems. So you'll get an opportunity to spend time with a couple of military members and a SEAL team member on your team in a 24-hour exercise that really will challenge you and help you learn, grow, and get to know a military member a little bit better in the skills that they provide.
Oh my God, that is wild. But it sounds awesome. Okay. So you said again, if you go to the website, vetted.org,
yes,
you have all that information. So I would encourage anybody listening to go on out to that website, check it out, see some of the great things they have. And if they have questions, they can contact somebody via the website.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And somebody will get back to them righto, because that's how they roll too. Alba, thank you so much for taking the time. Yeah, I'm sorry. We had another little delay. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today and to talk about all you're doing. And thank you for what you have done and what you are doing. And congratulations on your own transition into civilian life after a well-served career.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you to American Snippets for putting us on and for giving everybody an opportunity to learn about vetted.
Yeah, we're going to blast this out and really push it. And I'm going to go ahead and say anyone who listens to this and does shoot me an email, barb@americansnippets.com. Tell me something that you liked about this interview. I'll go out and I'll send you a copy of that book. Can you tell us again about that book and what it is, Alba?
Sure. The book is called Countering Hate, and it's written by Bob Pearson. And it provides a number of perspectives on how to turn the cycle of hate around in a population.
And Bob Pearson has quite the history himself. His professional career was pretty extensive. So check that out. Check out the book on the website. And if somebody listens to this and sends me a little message that says something about this interview or vetted that impacted them, I will order a copy of that book and have it sent right to them if they send me the email. So thank you so much again for all you do. And we look forward to tracking vetted in the future.
Thank you, Barbara. I appreciate it.